Hello, welcome to Wrestle MSX. I'm Michael. Please excuse the croaky voices as it's rather early here.
And I'm Sally.
Finn Bálor and JD McDonagh defeated the New Day to become new World Tag Team Champions.
Rusev defeated Sheamus.
Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria in a number one contenders match for the Intercontinental title ended in a draw.
Bron Breakker and Bronson defeated Sami Zayn and Penta.
Now, as usual, if you would like to know how that played out,
Night is the line.
Evolution Championship match.
And there's a plan B.
What? Rhea Ripley opens the show. Still no Pat Mack, by the way. Cole is joined by Corey Graves. Rhea says that the Judgment Day are behind her, and with Evolution coming up, she needs to get her priorities straight. Before she can continue, she's interrupted by Iyo Sky. Sky says Mummy's not on top, adding that Adam Pearce told her she can pick who to defend her title against at Evolution. Sky obviously picks Rhea. I mean, why else would she be out here? Rhea, surprisingly, says yes. So it's Sky versus Ripley for the Women's World Championship at Evolution. Now, if I was Iyo Sky, why would you pick one of the best female wrestlers to wrestle and defend against? Surely you would pick somebody weak so you can beat them. Better luck next time.
Backstage we see AJ Styles approaching Dom Mysterio, with Dom pulling out his sick note saying he's still not cleared. He also adds that he's spoken with Adam Pearce and if Styles lays a finger on him, he'll never get his title shot. Dom then tells Styles to get out his glasses so he can read the note, with Styles actually putting on his glasses to read the note. AJ finishes by saying he can't wait until Dom gets cleared so he can take the IC title away from him.
First up, Judgment Day's Finn Bálor and JD McDonagh take on the New Day for the World Tag Team titles. Kingston offers Bálor some bread, with Bálor knocking it away, so the match gets underway, with Bálor having no interest in breaking bread. Bálor tags out, bringing in JD, who takes it to Kofi with kicks and an attempted springboard moonsault to the outside. Careful JD, with Kofi managing to trip JD, leaving him hanging over the top rope, and then tag in Woods.
Woods enters the match with a stomp from the top rope to the hanging JD, and then performs the Jeff Jarrett strut, who actually took it from Jackie Fargo. But that's enough history for today, as we hit a break. We come back to Kofi covering JD for two and then tagging in Woods, who swaps chops with JD before kicking and chopping him back down to the mat.
Woods looks for a powerbomb, but JD counters and drives Xavier's head into the canvas before both men tag in their respective partners. Bálor takes it to both New Day members and then drops Kofi with a sling blade. Bálor goes for the shotgun drop kick, but Kofi counters with what can only be described as a high single leg stomp. Both tag out again, with JD sending Woods to the outside.
A springboard moonsault to Woods lands, with JD then throwing Woods back into the ring and going for another moonsault. Woods gets his legs up. Woods then goes for a roll-up pin, but Bálor tagged, making the cover void. Woods wasn't aware, and while confused, JD pulled Xavier down and held him so Bálor could land his coup de grace. Bálor did indeed land his finisher, but on JD as Woods moved, with Woods then covering Bálor for two.
The New Day then hit Bálor with the Midnight Hour, with the newly tagged in Kofi going for the cover. Incredibly, Bálor kicks out on two. Pins are then exchanged between Bálor and Kofi, with Woods even getting in on the action by hitting Finn with a tag belt at one point, and Kofi still only getting a 2 count cover. The ref, of course, was distracted at this point. Woods and JD come back in, with JD hitting a Spanish fly on Woods from the top rope, but Kofi breaks the pin on 2.
Bálor ends up taking out Kofi at ringside with a sling blade, while JD gets his feet up at Woods as Woods runs at him in the corner. With Woods down, JD climbs the top rope. As he does, Bálor tags him. JD then hits a moonsault to Woods, with Bálor following up with a coup de grace and cover. 1, 2, 3 later, and we have new tag team champions, the Judgment Day.
Well done. I like that. No problem. Either team could have won.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, me too.
Bit more exciting than whoa.
Yeah.
Gets a bit boring. These are more entertaining, and that's what it's all about. Backstage, Jackie Redmond is with Bayley and asks where her head's at. On her shoulders, comes the reply, before saying she's focused on the IC title. She didn't say that, but where else would her head be? Lyra then appears with Bayley saying she doesn't want to hear an apology, with Lyra saying she wants to go back to how it was before WrestleMania. The two then argue, with Adam Pearce then stepping between them. He has organised a match between the two of them to decide who the number one contender will be for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, which is now going to upset my theory of it being a triple threat. But wait and see.
We see a clip of Chad Gable from earlier with American Made saying he needs them to hold down the fort while he's away. That sacrifice from Penta last week has seemingly put him out of action. Pearce then enters the frame and says, I guess that means we won't be seeing El Grande Americano for a while either.
I don't see why not.
Gable says, you never know. Brutus says they'll be lost without Gable, with Gable telling them to listen to Ivy. In the background, you can just make out Ludwig Kaiser listening in.
He's turned into the new Shinsuke, isn't he? Just
Lurking.
lurking in the background. Pearce and Aldis are then seen having a chat, with Bálor and McDonagh walking up to them. Bálor has an idea for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Instead of stripping her of the titles, Rodriguez, why not give her a new tag partner, which we alluded to last week, whenever. And surprise, surprise, he suggests Roxanne Perez, which we also alluded to a few weeks. That's why you need to watch us. We've got it all. We don't need no dirt sheets. It's just obvious. The two managers confer and then tell Finn they'll allow it, but under one condition. They'll have to defend their tag titles at Evolution against a team from Raw, SmackDown and NXT. Bálor says done deal. So what's that going to be?
Maybe like a gauntlet match type.
Yeah, I was actually thinking all four teams in,
either.
which is, I don't know what that's called, I can't remember. Not a fatal four-way as such, but...
Just a four-way tag, I think. I don't know.
Is it? It's essentially... Yeah. Anyway, it should be interesting. I wonder who the NXT one's going to be.
Don't know.
We don't watch it, sorry.
Next up, Rusev versus Sheamus. Hitting and slapping is the order of the day, with Rusev finally shoulder charging the Irishman down. The two fight in the corner, with Rusev then powerbombing Sheamus down to the mat. Sheamus rolls out the ring, with Rusev going after him and jumping from the apron. Sheamus catches him and turns it into a scoop-style looking slam.
We come back from the break with a rear chinlock from Rusev, with Sheamus fighting out only to eat a big boot from the Bulgarian. I thought he was Russian. Anyway, Sheamus then goads Rusev to hit him, which he does, with Sheamus then laying into Rusev and putting him down with an Irish curse backbreaker. Sheamus then lands a knee to Rusev from the top rope and covers for one.
A spinning heel kick and fall-away slam from Rusev get him 2 counts, with Rusev then hitting a superplex to Sheamus after he climbed to the top rope. The two then begin clubbing one another while on their knees, and then continue on their feet. We get 15 beats of the Bálor, 2 running knees and a cover by Sheamus for 2. Rusev replies with a standing Uranagi, rock bottom without going down to the mat, and then floors Sheamus with a running kick.
Rusev locks in the accolade, but Sheamus gets up and sends both men through the ropes and to the floor. He follows up with a bro kick, with Rusev barely beating the count from the ref with a second to go to get back in the ring. The two then fight on the apron, with Rusev removing the cover from the turnbuckle strut. With the cover gone, Rusev pulls Sheamus chest first into it, with Sheamus rebounding back into the ring, clutching his throat. Rusev follows up with a Machka kick and covers the Irishman for the victory. Sorry if I butchered that Machka kick, but it's not a word I'm used to saying.
Fair. We see Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce announce from earlier today that at Evolution there will be a women's battle royal, with the winner going to clash in Paris to have a championship match. We then cut to Jackie Redmond with Ivy Nile and asking how she's going to move forward without their leader. By walking, replies Nile. No, she didn't, but these questions are so dumb.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Niall says they have a lot of work to do and that she's going to get herself in the Battle Royal. El Grande Americano then shows up and walks off. Redmond wants a reaction, but Niall says no comment.
Media trained. Redmond then spots Sami Zayn and wants to get a word, but before Sami has chance, he's attacked by Karrion Kross. Kross finds some piping and hits Sami with it, but backstage hands appear and ward Kross off. Scarlett also appears, keeping the security away.
Gunther heads to the ring next to talk about Goldberg. Gunther's not afraid, saying Bill wants one last hooray at his expense, with Gunther's goal to take his time, outclass him and embarrass him. Gunther then claims he's a bully and going to treat Goldberg like a piece of crap.
What, flushing down the toilet?
Gunther then asks who's going to be next after Goldberg. Cue Seth Rollins.
Now, I noticed that the Money in the Bank briefcase has had a makeover, and then we hear from Seth, and he's here to congratulate the ring general, and adds that he wasn't going to cash in on John Cena. He flew all the way to Saudi Arabia just to stop Punk from winning the title. That's how much he hates him. Seth then says now he has the Money in the Bank, it'll be an all-out assault on both world titles. As he finishes, outruns CM Punk, who gets straight into the ring, with he and Seth then throwing hands.
Punk barges Seth down, with Seth then rolling out the ring and hightailing it up into the crowd. Punk calls Seth a coward and then walks past Gunther, with Gunther grabbing his arm. Punk spins around and pushes Gunther to the mat, telling him to stay out of his business. The camera then pans back to Seth, and for good reason, as LA Knight shows up behind him, with the two then fighting through the concourse. Seth eventually gets away after throwing a drink in Knight's eyes.
Backstage, we see the Judgment Day with all the gold when in walks Rodriguez, saying you're not replacing Liv. Bálor says they're not replacing anyone and the rehab for Liv will take a while and that he wants Raquel to stay champion. Bálor calls for a vote as to whether Perez should be a member of the Judgment Day, which I thought surely was really, with all saying yes, even Dom. Dom said he'd need to talk to Liv, but Bálor pushed him for an answer, with Dom saying alleged yes. Now, shouldn't that have been a reluctant yes as opposed to alleged? Anyway, Raquel just told Perez to keep her end of the deal, so didn't technically say yes. Perez then says she'll go after Kairi Sane, who caused Liv's injury, with Bálor saying Liv's gonna love this. And as you can imagine, big old smile on his face.
We had a vignette from Kairi Sane saying she's targeting all the gold and that the Pirate Princess is here, just before we get Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria in a #1 contenders match for the Women's Intercontinental title.
A hip toss and arm drag sets Lyra up for a 2-count cover, with Bayley then getting a 1 count off a low clothesline. After another cover attempt, Bayley slingshots Lyra into the ring post and then puts her into the Boston Crab. Lyra counters into a cover, but Bayley kicks out. Both women then crossbody each other just as we hit a break.
We come back to see Bayley superplex Lyra, with the fight then going to the outside. Bayley lands an elbow from the ring steps before we go back inside the ropes, where she covers only for Lyra to kick out. Valkyria gets another 2 count off a swinging neckbreaker and then goes for a tornado DDT, which Bayley stops by pushing her away and then follows with a sunset flip powerbomb into the corner and cover for 2.
A gut-wrench powerbomb nets Lyra another 2, with both women then slugging it out in the middle of the ring. We then go through a variety of pinning combinations before we land on one where both women are pinning each other. The ref counts and declares it a draw. The two wrestlers aren't happy and continue to fight, taking it to the outside. They fight into the crowd before backstage hands eventually run out and break it up. So, triple threat at Evolution, like we said ages ago.
Yeah.
You do not have a draw.
It's got to be, yeah.
I mean, what they're going to do? And we said this, I don't know, about 3 months ago, that this is going to be triple threat. Lyra, Becky, Bayley, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Especially after, who has a draw in wrestling? Never heard of that.
We learn that LA Knight will face Seth Rollins at Saturday night's main event, before we cut to Jackie Redmond running after CM Punk backstage. She asks him what's going through his mind. Punk says that he has receipts for Seth, Heyman, Bron, which isn't quite as funny as Bronson.
No.
when he sees LA Knight. Punk tells Knight Seth belongs to him and to get to the back of the line. Knight says he can have Seth 6 days a week, but come Saturday night's main event, he is the line.
Yeah, Punk. Bronson. It's funny then Bron. Anyway, stealing our stuff. We see Sami Zayn struggling with his injured ribs when Penta walks up asking if he's alright. Sami says, yep.
So, last match of the night, Sami Zayn and Penta versus Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, also known as #BronBronson. Just before the heels head out, we see Heyman on the phone telling Seth to enjoy the flight. Reed asks where he is. Heyman replies he's on a jet perfecting Plan B. Reed asks what Plan B is when Breakker appears. He says the plan is for him to smash anyone who gets in our way.
Alright, Hulk.
Heyman is about to say something, but then Breakker asks for his music to be played.
Penta bests Breakker and brings in Sami, but a knee to the ribs soon stops Sami in his tracks, with Breakker running the ropes and putting Zayn down. Bron tags out bringing in Reed, who suffers a double axe handle. Sami tags in Penta, with the pair then sending Bronson to the outside. Zayn and Penta then leap over the top rope, taking out their foes just as we hit a break.
We come back to a nerve pinch by Reed on Penta. Penta manages to escape, bringing in Zayn, who gets some mounted punches in on Reed before sending him over the top rope again. Breakker comes charging in, but Sami sends him out too. Zayn takes out both of his opponents with his sitting springboard moonsault. Sami throws Reed back in the ring and climbs to the top rope, but so does Reed.
It doesn't work out for the big fella though, as Zayn hits a sunset flip powerbomb into cover for 2. Reed then hits a Death Valley driver from nowhere and covers for 2, with Reed then tagging in Breakker. Zayn escapes the ring, but Breakker goes after him by leaping from the apron. It takes Sami out on the announcer's desk just as we hit a break, but when we come back we're in the ring again with a waist lock applied by Breakker.
Zayn gets away, tagging in Penta, with Penta taking out Bronson as the pair gang up on the luchador. Breakker suffers the corner headstand and sacrifice, but reverses the Penta driver into a military press. Penta counters this into a DDT and covers for 2. Penta then climbs a turnbuckle, but Heyman gets on the apron, which distracts the referee. This allows Reed to trip Penta, with Breakker then hitting his Frankensteiner.
Reed then comes in after tagging Bron before his Frankensteiner and sit-down powerbombs Penta. The follow-up cover is broken by Zayn on 2. Zayn is then tossed out of the ring and Penta dragged to the corner through Tsunami. Reed misses as Penta rolls out the way, with both men then tagging in their partners. Breakker runs at Zayn, but Zayn hits an exploder and sets up for the haluva kick.
Breakker meets him halfway across the ring with a jumping clothesline and then begins to run the ropes, but Zayn raises his boot with Breakker running straight into it and then covers for 2. Reed broke the pin. Sami then suplexes Reed but then turns around into a spear. Breakker then covers Zayn and gets the 1-2-3. Penta then suffers a spear, with Zayn then dragged over to the corner by Reed.
As Reed climbs the ropes, out comes Jey Uso, chair in hand. Bron goes to meet him but gets cheered, with Jey then entering the ring and beating up Reed before throwing the chair at him and sending him from the ring. Raw goes off the air with the good guys standing tall over the villains. I mean, it's this Plan B.
Yeah.
That's the thing now.
What is this?
Roman Reigns. Well, it won't be. But because if you think about it, it wasn't that long ago when Reed tsunami'd Seth.
Yeah.
Was it about 5 or 6 times? I think he tsunami'd him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was this year, and broke his ribs or whatever he did.
He was out for a bit, wasn't he?
He was out for a while.
Yeah.
And then he's come back and he's, hey, Reed, come in my gang.
Come at me.
Okay. Roman Reigns. No, it'd be interesting to see if this Plan B is now. It won't be Reigns, because there's too much animosity between.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So it won't be them. But it's interesting. And as we said, I think that Bayley, Valkyria and Becky Lynch.
It's got to be.
It's got to be a triple threat. You don't have a draw.
Like, you don't, what ref calls a draw?
Well, that one. But no, I mean, you're not going to just say, right, have a rematch or start the match again.
Yeah.
Or okay, something else. They will both go which we, as I say, we did say a while ago.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's got to turn into that.
You'd have thought so, but everything else pretty standard. I thought AJ was funny with his glasses.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. And then Balor's just as funny
Balor's,
as ever. With his
Balor's
big old grin.
Yeah. I don't know.
Any thoughts or views that you would like to share, please feel free to pop them in that comment section down below.
I mean, if you disagree with us, we'd like to hear from you. But if you don't disagree with us and you like what we do, thank you very much for watching.
And we'll see you Wednesday for a look at this past week in WWE and Saturday when we take a look at SmackDown.